Here we go.
Hello.
Oh,
Hey.
Hello.
Christian, as the owner of this meeting, can you turn on the AI transcriptions?
Maybe.
It's the little pencil in the top right corner.
Turn on.
I tried taking our YouTube video from our last session and generating transcripts from it with Whisper, and it was terrible. And I want to see if we can get any better from Google Meet directly.
So it'll be available in our next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. I think we're all here. We need to find someone who is happy leading the meeting and taking notes. Does anyone want to nominate themselves?
I'll nominate Roger, because he's the one who has who put the agenda together for this week. He's currently not here.
That's fair. Sorry, just saying goodbye to somebody in the office. If I could just ask for that transcript after it's done, then that'd be great. Sorry. Using screens everywhere. It's the agenda in the chat. Any outstanding items or standing items from the last week or the last time we met? Should check the action items last time.
They are all on me, I believe. So, action items from last time. I need to have a conversation with the CNCF about incubating. That's still on my list. I need to continue the Oracle backend discussions. They told me they would have something this week. We'll see what's happened. Apparently, they have signed the DCO now, so that's good. I am to create a PR to clarify the website messaging about drop-in replacement. I haven't done that yet. I need to do that. That's definitely on my list. And working group formation to discuss new providers. A PR has been put up for this in the org repo. I believe I've added all of the TSC members as reviewers, and I'd love to get a thumbs up from you guys.
Okay, so that's on us for next time.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. The only other thing on the agenda right now then is Harness has hired in Lawrence to as one of our contributors to the project, and so a vote on whether or not to include him as one of the official committers to the project. So I will exclude myself from the vote, just given that representatives from Harness, but we'll let everyone else vote on that.
So a little bit of background here. Lawrence has been contributing in one way or another to the project for, I believe, over a month now, 2 months now, and has taken on the rewrite of the Azure backend, Azure RM backend, which is no small feat and something that removes a fair amount of technical risk from maintaining that particular backend. So, as someone speaking as with my maintainer hat on, Lawrence has been very pleasant to work with in reviews, has taken feedback well, and has shown a willingness to jump on new issues and help out.
Do we need to discuss, or would you just vote?
So
Do we
the
want to make it hard for Lawrence and start asking hard questions, background?
You can make it like a
checks and-
dissertation. Yeah, I'm down for that. Yeah.
So I'm just going to put the link in the chat. Are we all familiar with what this entails in terms of our current charter? So we have contributors, committers, and maintainers. Currently, we went from having previously before this was laid out, we took the core team that was the individuals hired to work on OpenTofu and moved us all into the maintainer role, which was kind of the closest equivalent of where we were at. And I think Lawrence is the first person to go through the official process that's now public and is actually officially laid out. So when we're talking about committer, this is someone who has been a contributor and is in good standing with the community, and is someone who is now earning the ability to modify or commit to the source code, documentation, or other technical artifacts in the repository. And I think that's most of it. And at some point, the distinction isn't incredibly clear, but there is a small distinction between committer and maintainer. My understanding, and James, correct me if I'm wrong, because you also have access to the permissions system. The difference is a committer is someone who can merge pull requests, approve pull requests, manage issues, and I believe a maintainer is someone who has an additional level of trust and access within the repositories of the project. Is that?
So, I think when I wrote the charter, there was an oversight of explaining what the difference is between committer and maintainer and how you go from one to the other. But I do see it as so there's two things. One is what you said, which is a committer can merge PRs into main and commit on branches, whereas a maintainer is maintaining the repositories, maybe doing administrative tasks around GitHub Actions, etc. But there's also other accounts that we maintain, Neon Database, Cloudflare, etc. I don't think we need everyone to have access to all of those. And the way that I also see it is maintainers get broad access to commit to all repositories, whereas a committer will only get access as they need it to commit to each repository. So we have a lot of repositories. Brand artifacts is a random obscure one that not everyone needs permission to go and write to. We need to document that, and I already have an action item on my to-do list to go and discuss with people about how we go from committer to maintainer. I think we just need a vote in general and describe what each role is, the difference between the two. For now, I think we should just vote if we should put Lawrence in as a committer. I don't see any reason to spend a lot of time discussing it, unless anyone has questions.
So just so I can understand why we're putting this to a TSC vote, this is we're definitely not. I'm not assessing Lawrence's technical expertise because I have no idea. Is what we're being asked to confirm here that the members of the TSC are okay with adding on another committer? Is that the purpose of this vote?
Correct. I believe the intention behind the charter that says there must be a vote to make someone a committer is that we can have a process that is agnostic from people who are hiring people to become into the process and general community members. There may be a situation where someone who isn't paid to work on the project could be a committer. In this case, Larry was hired. He's been a contributor for a while. And I think it's just a formality at this point that we are voting.
But it does bring up that we should document this process better.
All right. Would everyone like to give a thumbs up or thumbs down? How do we want to vote? Do we thumbs up or thumbs down? Everyone happy? Arrow's giving thumbs up in the reactions. That's fine. And Roger abstained because
I think it's unanimous.
Yeah, unanimous. Congratulations, Larry. We'll Christian and I will figure out how to separate the maintainer and the committer role in our GitHub org setup and make you a committer, and we'll get you all the permissions you need.
Thank you very much.
Just for Igor, as I believe you are the owner of the OpenTofu org for the Google Workspace. Is it you?
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold off on handing out OpenTofu org addresses. I think they should only really go to maintainers, and I don't think we have much of a need
As
for
you
them
wish.
anyway.
Yeah.
So I think 99% of what we need is GitHub's permissions. So
Sure.
cool. 13 minutes in. Do we have anything else, Roger?
I have nothing else, but yeah, any other business? Unless somebody's added something in the last 5 minutes.
We can get through a TSC meeting without it being an hour of me, so that's great.
So I wanted to go back to the working group. Can we get reviews on those on that proposal by the end of the week? So that way it's not holding us up until the next meeting. Seems relatively. It's compared to the other documents James has written in the past month. It looks relatively straightforward.
Now I really want to see the other ones, so I have something to compare with.
You did. I think he's talking about my draft provider RFC. That's
Oh yeah.
There's 6 RFCs and a trench coat of another RFC.
PhD in thesis in hiding.
Yeah. I do actually have something that just came out of the maintainer's retro that just concluded. We are looking to change the process around alphas. James, do you want to explain that, or I can do that as well?
Go ahead. Why would I put work on myself when you say you want to do it?
Sure. So the idea has been floated that alphas in their current form have not been widely tested by the community. They haven't provided a huge amount of benefit, and it's kind of a lot of copy paste between the alpha blog post to the beta blog post and so on. So the proposal was floated to instead, now that we have the nightly system, which I don't know if that's been mentioned in a TSC meeting yet, but James has added a nightly build system to OpenTofu. These are not intended to be stable or long-lived artifacts. This is all documented in the OpenTofu repo. James, can you link to this?
I already have.
Oh, thank you. So the idea is that we will put out blog posts saying this new feature is now available in OpenTofu nightlies, with a disclaimer that this is, don't use it for production. It's equivalent in stability to an alpha. It is what is on main. It should have the feature you're looking for, but don't expect it to not kill your project if something breaks. But from there, we can then collate those blog posts as they happen throughout the release process And once we get to a beta, it's more of here's a summary of all the big things and some of the smaller things that are going into the next release. Here's a more polished build for you to test, then go through RC and release.
Stop me if this is the wrong forum to ask this, but why isn't this in the GitHub releases?
Right.
The nightlies?
Yeah.
We have seen that people seem to complain a lot when there are a lot of GitHub releases on repositories. And we didn't want to do too many, but also we didn't want to promote the idea that people can look at old nightlies. And so one of the main things we wanted to do was ship something that we know will disappear in 30 days. And I think 30 days is the number that we're keeping right now of just old nightlies. That way people don't ever live on a nightly for months and months and months.
Why?
It's just a behavior we don't want to promote. We just thought it was a bit bad. It's not super justified, I'll agree.
I will say we probably should have labeled this PR as added the TSC as reviewers, because we had talked about that process. This would have been a good example of us to try and have that asynchronous, not wait for 2 weeks discussion and get some reviews from the other TSC members.
No objections. I'm just asking to understand why it was designed this way.
I
James,
think,
do you-
honestly, when I wrote this, I had it ringing in the back of my head that there was a provider recently that we had problems with in the registry that had like 20,000 releases, and GitHub was starting to have issues with handling that many releases.
It was one of the libraries we use. I had to go and like reverse it, like
The
Look at-
Tencent library or something, right?
that's it. Yeah, the Tencent library. They deleted like 20,000 of their old tags because they were doing crazy things with tags and broke a bunch of projects. But GitHub would just unicorn when you went to the releases page.
So, well, one of the things I think why Christian wanted to raise this is we just wanted to check, does anyone have any aversion to not? There's too many negatives now. Does anyone hate the idea of skipping alphas?
I mean, like, if nobody's using them, then like, why haven't them?
The nightly might be an easier way to do it as well. You can just, if for anyone who's caring about this stuff, set up a single test suite to work with nightly once we get it published. So, yeah.
So to be clear, how are you encouraging usage of nightlies?
Right now, we are not, but we will be discussing an approach for this. We had a quick idea in the team of maintainers, which was for large projects, for where maybe there's an issue with like 200, 300 upvotes, people really want this. We could do a blog post about the feature. A good example of this is ephemeral values upcoming. And we can do a blog post and we can say, hey, you can use this today. This is available. Grab it in our nightly build. And we give people a link to the nightlies in blog posts and social media. And then the other part is for smaller fixes, we can always try and tell people in issues that they have raised, this is now available in the nightly. Please let us know. And this pushes people to try and test if their fixes are actually fixed.
But these are like more like a corner cases, right? Because like if it's like some minor issue, nobody will update their production to like nightly build to test. Now, do we have today like a nightly builds, right? And
Yes.
Do we have a statistics of downloads? Like
I haven't announced it publicly anywhere about the nightly builds. The recent process I introduced about a week and a half ago.
I will propose the following: like either just don't do nightly builds. We can build like do like a feature preview builds for specific features, big ones. Like, hey, you can try out on this like special build, or like do nightly builds for like maybe 3 months, but with download statistics. And if it has like a zero, like close to zero downloads, then just like abandon like don't maintain something that nobody uses.
Yep. I'll be fully honest, the system we've got set up right now has taken minimal time to set up. We have nightlies pushed to an R2 bucket, so they are free to go and use. I can have download statistics on them if we need to. So we can do all that. I'm a little bit against this idea of feature builds, just because it takes time and effort of an engineer to go and manage this build, make sure it's released, make sure the change log is in place, make sure the documentation's updated. And
The idea more was like nightly builds, but they're like on demand. Just press a button, it will create a build with the same process. So like automatically build it like every day.
yeah.
Like on-demand nightly builds.
The other option is potentially flagging. We talked about this in the past.
Yeah.
With point releases.
And one more thing to consider is tip builds. I don't know if you've evaluated this, but you could just always cut a build every time main gets updated. And then you can bisect issues or whatever. Something else to consider.
But yeah, in general, we like just nitpicking here because like technically like we can abandon alphas and like start trying something different here. And we can start with nightly builds because they're already there, as you said, implemented. It's just like I generally very hesitant to maintain, even if it doesn't take much time, maintain something that nobody's using.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree on that. I don't think it should be any effort put into it. And this is part of the reason that when I implemented the nightlies, I did not build them into our build script. I've not built them into support for TFenv and things like this, because it's extra work and they could just go away. One day I want to be able to just turn them off if we need to, if it's too much work or no one's using it. Cool. Anything else to discuss?
Going
Did you
once,
Oh,
going
sorry.
twice. I'll go ahead.
Just in case you didn't see the PR, there was the offline vote we had for that for a particular issue that's now been documented and merged into the repository. And I suggest we follow a similar template if that comes up again in the future.
Cool. If nothing else, then wrap up early today.
Congrats everyone on extra 35 minutes of your life.
All right.
Thanks, y'all.
Okay, guys. See you in 2 weeks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.